Bad movie. Movie not good. The Mummy 2017, directed by Alex Kurtzman, the man that helped write Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, great job getting that guy. Not like Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't a bad movie, right? Yeah, it was. This is a reboot of the Mummy franchise and the start of Universal doing their Dark Universe, a universe where their classic monsters all exist within the same franchise. Dracula, the Mummy, the Frankenstein monster, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Invisible Man, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and other great monsters. Now, they were supposed to start this franchise off with Dracula Untold, which starred Luke Evans as Dracula, but unfortunately that did not work out very well. That movie was not very good, so they figured, you know what, we're not going to start off the franchise with that movie. We're going to start off instead with The Mummy, which comes out now, and that movie was not very good, unfortunately, either. Now, I love the original classic Mummy, which starred Boris Karloff back in the black and white era when they had Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as also the Frankenstein monster. And you had Lon Chaney as the Wolfman, you had the Creature from the Black Lagoon. And during that time, they did the shared universe pretty well. They actually had the Frankenstein monster going up against the Wolfman, and they also had the very funny Abbott Costello film, Abbott Costello Meets Frankenstein, which had the Frankenstein monster, Dracula, and the Wolfman, although they had the Frankenstein monster being played by Glenn Strange instead of Boris Karloff, but they still had Bela Lugosi as Dracula and Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. So hearing that they're going to try to do it again now, after Marvel's success with their shared universe, got me a little bit excited, but unfortunately I also know that Universal has not been doing so well with their monster films, so I was a little bit skeptical at the same time. And unfortunately, this movie's not very good. I was expecting, considering the trailers didn't look very good. The movie stars Tom Cruise as Rick Morton. He is a Tomb Raider of sorts who goes into the military, goes into Iraq with his friend Chris, played by Jake Johansson. And they find out that there is a tomb, an Egyptian tomb, somewhere in Iraq. They go to Iraq where the tomb is, and while they're there, they get caught under fire by insurgents. Jake calls for an airstrike, and when the airstrike gets rid of the insurgents, it also helps uncover the Egyptian tomb. We also find out that Rick stole the map to this tomb from a woman played by Annabelle Wallis, Jenny Hasley. And she's been looking for this tomb all her life. So when she finds out that Rick stole this map from her, she is all mad and goes to Iraq to find out about this tomb that they have uncovered with the map that she had. And she ends up going into the tomb with them, and they uncover the mummy, who's played by Sofia Boutella. Yes, we got a female mummy this time instead of a male mummy. In the previous two movies, we had Boris Karloff was a mummy, and in the movies with Brendan Fraser, Arnold Vosloo played the mummy in 1999. And in the sequel, he played the mummy again, along with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson playing the Scorpion King. Although I didn't like the Dragon Emperor one, the third Brendan Fraser film, very much. It was a very good movie. With this film, Tom Cruise helps unearth the mummy, and the mummy chooses Tom as the vessel to unleash its evil, or her evil, as I should say. When they're bringing the mummy back to, I believe it's London, the plane is forced out of the air. It crashes, but before it crashes, Rick helps Jenny get out of the plane with the one parachute. And when it crashes, he actually survives, since the mummy wants to use him as a vessel. And then he finds out he's been cursed, and the mummy's chasing after him, and eventually chases after both him and Jenny. They meet up with Russell Crowe's character, who is kind of like the Nick Fury of this franchise, and he's also a very particular character within the monster universe. And Jake Johansson becomes undead and becomes a ripoff of American Werewolf in London, one of the characters from that. And I'm now going to a little bit into spoilers, so let's talk about this movie. First of all, the positives. I like Tom Cruise a lot, and I thought he was very good in this movie. He does a very good job playing this character, even though the character is not very likable. And that stunt he does on the airplane is pretty awesome. It's probably one of the best scenes in the movie. And then you have Russell Crowe. I thought he was very good in the film as well. And Sofia Boutella does a pretty good job playing the mummy. The negatives, though, of this movie, the direction is all wrong. The director is a terrible director. And this movie has too many writers working on it. You got 6 writers working on it, which is way too many. You only need probably 2, really, of the 6. Chris McQuarrie, who works with Tom Cruise a lot, and one of the other writers is really all you need. You don't need 6. That is way too many, and that's one of the problems with this movie and why this movie is all over the place. Another negative with this movie is Annabelle Wallis. She is a terrible actress. She's supposed to be Tom Cruise's love interest in this movie, but they have no chemistry whatsoever. And all she is in this movie is a damsel in distress, really. Then you have Jake Johansson, who I do like. I think he's a pretty funny guy, but in this movie he's annoying, and he becomes a ripoff of a plot point or character from American Werewolf in London. It was so blatantly obvious. If you've seen that movie, I really didn't like the fact that they were ripping off that film. It was just, what the heck? And as for some of the new things they tried to do with the mummy, there really wasn't much new, really. It almost feels like everything that has been done with the original classic and the Brendan Fraser films have been done, really. There's not much left to do with the mummy, really. And setting it in present day time wasn't really that much of a good idea, although the idea of making it feel like an Uncharted movie, like the Uncharted video games, and having mummies, that seems like an interesting idea, but the execution really wasn't done very well. And not much of this movie was really all that scary, really. So overall, I really didn't like this movie that much, but I wouldn't really give it a D or an F. So I'm gonna give this movie a C-. It's pretty much forgettable. But if you want to see it, I say wait to rent it, or wait until it comes out on Netflix or Redbox or something, or maybe when it comes out on television on HBO or something like that. And that's all I gotta say for The Mummy. Maybe the next movie in Universal's Dark Universe will be better.